Welcome to my free masterclass, How to Be a Career-Driven Mum Who Thrives Through the Juggle. I'm Rachel. I'm a mum myself. I'm also a performance coach to mothers, and I support and coach mothers on finding their calm, finding their confidence, and getting in control of the overwhelm that comes with being a working mum. So that comes with the juggle of having a career and mum life. So I am so glad you're here. And the likelihood is you've signed up to this masterclass because you yourself are, finding it pretty overwhelming, getting through the juggle of having your career, also being a mum, and everything else that comes in between all of that, and that you're trying to keep on top of. And likelihood is you as well are a career-driven mum who cares about your career and wants to be able to find a way that to make it feel manageable, to continue going after the career that you're passionate about, but also being the mum that you want to be, and finding time for the elements in your life that are important to you. So the next 20 to 25 minutes are crammed full of value, tools and techniques that my clients, the mums I've worked with, have all had huge benefit from, and they've really impacted on their lives and also impacted on my own. So, I'm obviously a working mum myself. I too understand and have experienced the pressures that come with being a working mum. So all the techniques and tools I'm sharing are things that I use day to day myself. So I decided to create this masterclass because it came off the back of a lot of conversations I was having with mums, and I was hearing a lot of the same struggles coming up time and time again, and obviously struggles that I've experienced myself too. So, this word overwhelmed was coming up all the time. This feeling of never quite being on top of anything, this feeling of never quite getting anything, being able to get anything finished, and just being spread so thinly and pulled in so many directions. I was hearing that a lot. And feeling intense mum guilt all the time. And this phrase also kept coming up where when I'd ask mums how they were, they would say to me, I'm just about surviving. I'm just about surviving today. And which, as much as I've also felt like that, I've also had days where I've just about survived, I feel. But it made me really sad to hear so many mums saying that, because as mothers, we give so much to others. We give so much to our little ones, to our loved ones, to everything in our lives. We deserve to feel good too. We deserve to enjoy the journey of motherhood. We deserve to be able to put our energy into our career as well, because we enjoy it. It gives something to us, it fulfills us. We deserve to be able to put energy into things that we feel passionate about and that are important to us. So we don't we deserve more than to just survive. Like, we deserve to thrive as well, which is why I've put this free masterclass together about helping mums to thrive as a career-driven mother, not just survive. So before I dive into how we can make that happen, I just want to mention that at the end of this masterclass, I have got a gift that I'm going to share with you. And so I'll delve into that more at the end. I just wanted to give you a little brief note about that. That is something nice coming. So let's get into the value that I really want to share with you today on this masterclass. First thing I'm going to share is something I share with mums in session 1 that I start working with them. So let me just share my screen so that I can get this diagram up for you. So this is all about, I wanted to really share this with you because this is a cycle of what happens to our brain. What does our brain go through when we're faced with change or challenges? So this is the kind of the fight or flight response that your brain basically goes through. So let's use an example specifically to go through this, okay? Because I think when you've got an example to use, it becomes much more like relatable and understandable. So let's imagine you are about to start work for the day. You've got a really important day on work. You're on your way to work or you're working remotely, you're logging on, and then you get that call from your child's school or nursery and they're unwell. They need picking up, which happens too much, doesn't it? It happens way too much. The brain goes from a planned out situation where it feels all comfortable, it feels ready for the day, to suddenly it's in an unpredictable situation. Now, your brain does not like unpredictability. It does not like to feel unsafe. It doesn't like change. It likes to feel safe and comfortable. So immediately it goes into this fight or flight response, this threat response, and it goes into an intense, increased emotion state. So this is where, your likelihood is, it's happened to all of us. You start to stress, you start to worry for all different kinds of reasons. You start to feel frustrated because it is a frustrating situation. You start to panic, and then irrational thoughts start flooding in. I hope my little one's okay. I feel guilty that I'm not there with them. You know, my manager is going to be mad. They're going to think I'm not committed. They're going to think I'm a nuisance because, there's a childcare issue again. Um, all these irrational thoughts start coming into your mind. You might be thinking, this isn't going to work. Work and motherhood is just this impossible balance act isn't working. I need to give it up. So when you're in increased emotion, your rational thinking is reduced, your performance overall starts to become impaired. Okay. So everything just starts to feel hard, everything you're doing starts to feel really difficult, and it feels like nothing is going to plan then. So I'm sure probably me talking this through with you and giving you, relaying it back to you with this example, you're probably now recalling lots of situations where you can see this has definitely played out for you. But if we're not finding ways to manage this, if you're not finding ways to manage, the overwhelm of the juggle or the stress or the mum guilt you're experiencing, all of it just continues and it impacts on you negatively. So it just continues to go round and round, and it almost becomes your default setting. So every time you're faced with a challenge, this is how you react, and everything just always feels hard. Okay, let me stop sharing. So, how do you manage this then? How do we go about starting to thrive and not just be surviving this, and not for our default setting to be this hard, stressful threat response to every situation? First step is self-compassion. Okay. So this is another thing that with every mum I work with in session one of working together, I say to them, the first thing needs to be self-compassion. Your mind is your most powerful tool. And by speaking unkindly to it, which you most likely are, because as mums, we are very good at speaking unkindly to ourselves. We're very good at criticizing ourselves, pulling ourselves up on things we think we're failing at or doing wrong or we're not good enough in. And we get stuck in that again, that repetitive negative habit. And by doing that, you're fueling your mind to focus on the negative of every challenge and every situation you find yourself in. And it just weakens and weakens your resilience. It's not helping you in any way. So I want you to write this down. This is your first action to start doing differently. And that is, I want you to, tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to say one simple, kind thing to yourself at the very start of that day. So the moment you wake up, I want you, the first thing to do is to say one kind thing to yourself. It could be as simple as, I am proud of myself. Short and sweet. This sets the tone for your mind for the rest of the day. It starts you on that positive tone. Okay. So this is something that you need to be consistent with. It's saying this once off isn't going to do anything for you, isn't going to change things. But this is a small action which can so easily fit into your day. It's not like you need to find time to do this. This is something very quickly you can do at the start of your day when you're getting up. So it's really easy to fit in. And you may not see the benefit of this immediately, but it's something it's an example of how something so small can actually lead to a really big impact further down the line. And all the changes I encourage my clients to make are changes which are very, very small. And that's because it means they're much more realistic, they're much more manageable, they're much more sustainable. And those are all elements which are perfect ingredients for kind of building lasting habits, lasting change. Okay. So that's the first step. Self compassion is at the core of everything you need in order to build a successful mindset. Second step is identifying what is in your control. So I'm going to share a tool with you now. Let me go on to this. Let me just come out of this. Sorry, tech-wise, I can be a bit slow sometimes. Here we go. So this tool is called the CIA model. It's the Control, Influence, and Accept tool. And we're going to use an example again for this, again, to make it more relatable and to really help you to understand how it works. I'm just checking the time, sorry, to see, because I want to make sure I'm staying on track. Amazing. So when we're overwhelmed, we are, we're feeling out of control, which is what I talked you through with that brain model and that cycle. When you find yourself in a challenging situation, you want to discover what you're in control of. Because if you start to discover what you're in control of, it really helps you to immediately step into this mindset of solution focused. Okay, this growth mindset, we call it, where already you're looking for ways to make this situation better. Okay, so by asking yourself these questions, which is what this model is all about. So you've got the control at the center, influence, and then adapt. And what can be really nice is if you're someone who likes to really write things down and get things out of your head, then it's writing on this model. So what in this situation, let's as I said, let's use an example. So imagine you are commuting on your way back from work. Okay, it's been a long day at work. You finished later than you thought you'd be finished. You're worried that you're not going to be making bedtime, and so that means you're probably gonna miss giving your little one a kiss and a cuddle good night and seeing them before they fall asleep. This could be a really, an example of where your mind goes into that fight and flight. You start to go into intense emotion where you start to feel immense guilt, you start to get really upset, you start to worry, you start to get stressed, really heightened emotions. Obviously, then the irrational thoughts start to come in. So the guilt is like really knocking at the door here. It's probably telling you how bad a mum you are because you're not making it back in bedtime for bedtime. It's telling you how much you failed because you've put work before bedtime today. It might be telling you how sad your little one might be because you're not there for bedtime. So all these irrational thoughts are flooding in. And then again, that cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats. And you go into this spiral, this negative spiral. Now let's break that cycle with using this tool, okay? So let's think about what am I in control of in this particular situation? So what I'm in control of here is I am in control of my emotions and thoughts. So whether I realize it or not, I can step into control of these. I'm going to break that pattern. So instead of me allowing myself to get more and more emotional, I'm going to choose to calm these emotions down. So I'm going to choose to breathe for a moment. I'm going to breathe through the panic, the worry, the stress, and I'm going to calm myself down. I'm also going to start to think more rationally. So every irrational thought that's coming into my head, I'm going to flip it on its head with a more rational thought. So I can actually choose to think, and I'm in control of thinking, that my little one is safe, they're loved, they're warm, they're fed, they're with a loved one. They are most likely not even thinking about me at all because they're having such a lovely bedtime routine and evening. Um, they know I love them. The fact that tonight I've not made bedtime does not mean that I'm a bad mum. So I'm in control of actually turning those irrational thoughts around and looking at these in a much more rational way. What also you can then take this on to is what do you have influence over then? Like if this has been something that has triggered you, you've noticed that this is something that really matters to you. You maybe you don't want to miss too many bedtimes, and it's important to you to get home, which of course is understandable as mums. We all want to be being able to do both of those. Then what do you have influence over to ensure that if you can't do every bedtime, then what can you do at least to be there for a few? So you've got influence over and control over your diary. Have a look at your diary for the rest of the week. What meetings do you have an influence where you can maybe change the times of those to make sure that they're finishing in time for bedtime? You have control over what boundaries you put in place. So, what boundaries do you need to put in place to ensure you protect that time in that evening so that you do get home for bedtime? Okay. So, these are all things that you have control, influence over. And then, in terms of accepting, I think for this, it's all about thinking about, okay, well, I accept that I am a mum, I'm a working mum, and I accept that that does come with a juggle, there does come with where times I am going to have to put different things in different levels of priority, depending on what the day is. And I've got to accept that, but also adapt to it. I can make it work for me how I want to make it work for me and my family. So acceptance in that can be really powerful and can help you to control that mum guilt that comes up because you're stepping into choice. You're stepping into you having control over it. So this tool is really good for helping you to take back the driving seat and step into control. Okay. Step 3 is another practical tool, an even more practical tool, which is all about, let me just share my screen again, but let me just close this and open this. This is a practical tool I call mental load management. And the reason why I created this was because a big driver of why we feel so overwhelmed is the amount we are carrying in our minds, the weight of the load that we are trying to keep on top of and give our attention to all the time. And this tool gets you to offload that weight and to compartmentalize it so that you have more clarity and it becomes much more manageable. And all of a sudden, when you get that weight out of your mind and in front of you, it suddenly takes the pressure off of that task that you had, that you were carrying with it in your mind. So it's a really great way for putting everything into perspective and making you feel, again, much more in control and have a rational way of looking at everything. So this too, as you can see, is 4 compartments. The first one is looking at the I can do this compartment. This is all about these are the things that are important to you, that you want to be doing, that are perhaps also the things that you can do quite quickly, but the things that you want to do, okay? There's a reason why the language is like this as well. I can do this. This is like it's positive language, it's motivating language. And like I spoke about earlier, The way you speak to yourself is really, really important. It has a huge influence how our mind then responds to challenges and changes. So having this language, I can do this, is already setting the tone for how you're about to approach the tasks within this compartment. Second one is for another time. So as it says on the tin, anything you put into this compartment are things that you don't need to worry about until a later time. So even though you're not working on them yet, or you've not started them yet, you already feel in control of them because you've decided you don't even need to give them any thought right now. Third compartment, I deserve help. So again, the language is really important here. As mums, we can often think that the juggle is solely our responsibility, but it's not. We are well within our right. We rightly deserve to be supported in the juggle. So to be supported by your partner or, your loved ones, your family, your friends, by colleagues, by paid support, paid childcare, but also other forms of paid support, thinking about what things that you have got on your plate. You might have on your list a load of cleaning to do because we all know cleaning is endless. So paid support like cleaners, if you financially are able to, that may be something that you want to, you feel you do deserve to have that help, because by having that help, it means it takes that weight off you and you can put your energy and your time into the things that you are more passionate about and are more important to you. Okay. So it gets you to think about all the things that are on your mind, but they don't need to be done just by you. You can get help for that. And then the fourth one is let it go. And again, this is all, as it says on the tin, what can you let go of? There are so many things usually on our mental load list that we can just simply let go of. And I want you to think about things like, what are the things on your list that are like, they're nice to haves, but are they really that important? Or are you just, really wasting your energy? Because there's things that we might plan for our little ones, or maybe their birthdays, and we go into detail of things like, I don't know, getting certain napkins for your little one's birthday, like that you think are so important, but actually, are they really going to be noticed? They're the details that we notice, but are they actually just a lot of effort that you could really do without having to go and do? You could do without that trip to the shops and put it into that time into something else instead. So your nice to have that you could get rid of. Also, this is a compartment where you can dump all of your people-pleasing tasks that you are getting zero in return from, and all the irrational thoughts that are completely wasting your energy and are simply just not true. Dump them in here so you can visually see them and visually say, I'm going to let go of these, okay? So, I'm really conscious of time. So that is the final tool that I'm going to share with you. So I've shared with you there what happens with your brain and change and challenges and why that's so important to be aware of. And then I've given you 3 steps to take. Step 1 is self-compassion. Step 2 is identifying what you're in control of, what you've got influence over, and what you need to accept and adapt to. And then step 3 is that mental load management tool where you take the weight out of your mind and you dump it down and you compartmentalize it. Okay, so 3 very, very effective tools that are going to bring a lot of value to you. And I really, really hope you have gained value from this masterclass and from what I've shared. And honestly, with consistency, using these techniques will have such an important, a positive impact on your life as a working mum. And I would really, really love to hear how you get on with using these. I always love to hear back. And if you respond to me, I will always provide you a reply back because I just love to hear and love to have that conversation with other mums. So either message me on Instagram at mums juggling careers or hit reply to my email, which is in your inbox now. And finally, I did mention a gift at the start. So in your inbox, you'll have already received an email from me. And that email includes a replay of this masterclass. So you've got it there for as long as you need it, and you can replay it as much as you want. But in that email, I'm also sharing information about my one-to-one program called Mums Juggling Careers. And after you browse through that program and you take a look at it, which I'm sure you're going to love the look of, I am offering you a 10% discount to that program if you feel that you would benefit from signing up to it. Okay, so all you need to do is input this discount code, Masterclass 10, and I will then know to take off that 10% discount when you book in your free discovery call with me. Okay. So, as I said, all the details are in your email. And yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I will speak to you soon.